Good morning, Toastmasters. I am Sharon Arnold. I am a DTM and have been a Toastmaster since 1996. I belong to 3 Toastmaster clubs, All Aboard, Trident Tech Talkers, and Daniel Island. Our presenter is Donna Rice, DTM, District Director. Donna has been a Toastmaster for 10 years. She joined Toastmasters to learn to say more with less. This presentation is borrowed from the beloved Carnegie Mellon professor Randy Pausch's YouTube presentation on time management. In Donna's opinion, this is the best presentation on productivity techniques ever recorded. Donna has watched the talk at least half a dozen times and has learned something new and important on each occasion. This presentation leaves out the funny jokes and engaging stories, focusing exclusively on the actionable bits of advice. There are 3 main points: how to set goals, how to avoid wasting time, and how to deal with procrastination. This presentation recommends those 3 as tools to deal with stress and have more free time and fun in your life. Donna will speak to those points. It is my honor to welcome Donna as she presents Your Most Valuable Asset.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you all for being here. Here's my question. How would you like to have some tools to change the things you're doing? A lot of things that you do and how you allocate your time so that you have a happier, more wonderful life. Maybe less stress and ulcers. Raise your hand if that's why you're here. And I think I'm the person to present this because I'm not the youngest person in Toastmasters. I'm not the oldest either. I'm going to pick on my friend Douglas Wilson like Lefford did this morning. He's older than I am, but that's okay. My time is more valuable than some others. Let's go. So Randy Pausch says that Americans are bad at dealing with time. We're pretty good at dealing with money. We talk about money all the time, right? But time and money are similar. And the key question to ask is, how much is an hour of your time worth? Knowing this figure is helpful when you're at work or when you're at home. Whether you should do something yourself or whether you should contract it out. Think about this when you're at work. How much is your time worth? If you make $50 an hour at work, you have to multiply it by 2 because that's what your company pays you. Then divide it by 2080. That's how many hours you work a year. You're worth $48 an hour to your company if you make $50,000 a year. So when you're working and you have a job to do, think about whether or not that's worth your time if you have the ability to do this, or if it's better if you contract it out. Think about the same thing when you're thinking about your household budget. How much is your time worth? Is it better for you to mow the lawn for 3 hours, or is it better to contract that out? And the other thing that I'm going to talk to you about here is Toastmasters. People talk about, well, I don't have the money. I don't have the money for Toastmasters. And if somebody came to me and said that, I would say, I am not going to talk to you about the money. Get out of here. I will talk to you, though, about the time. Is the time that you spend in your Toastmasters club or your event, is that worth your time? Are you getting out of it what you want to get out of it? Because if you aren't, then you either need to change the experience somehow or the other in your club or find another one. Is it meeting the goals that you've set for yourself when you join that club? But the money is not what we want to talk about. It's your time. How do you spend your time? So I'm going to also tell you this, and I will put this slide, the whole slide deck into the chat or send it to you so you don't have to copy any of this. But the talk borrows heavily from the following book: Kathy Collins' Time Management for Teachers, Kenneth Blanchard and Spencer Johnson's The 1 Minute Manager, Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and Dick Lohr's Taking Control of Your Workday. So bad time management is like a famine, and it takes a long-term solution. It's systemic. So think of it like this. If I had enough money to drop food in a country that that had a famine every day, every single day, to feed everybody there for a year, would that solve the problem? The answer is no, it wouldn't. If in order to solve the problem, we would have to teach the people how to farm. We would have to give the people enough land, enough water, enough instructions on how to do it, enough seed, all of those things, enough area to collect the seeds and keep them. You cannot just drop the things there. It doesn't solve the problem. And the same thing is true for time management. If you have a time management problem, this is systemic, and it takes a long time and a lot of energy to solve it. I don't have a magic wand to wave and we're going to solve it overnight. You have to work on it. You have to take the steps to solve it. Just like a food famine. So is this what your desk looks like? People who go and study these things say that the typical office worker wastes 2 hours a day. Their desk is messy. They're unprepared for meetings. They've missed appointments. Is this you? I can't find it. I know I saw it somewhere. I've got to go look to see where it is. And we're wasting time because we can't put our hands exactly on it. It's a waste of time. So here's the quote. Being successful doesn't make you manage your time well, but managing your time well makes you successful. This is how we set goals. Every time you're about to spend your time doing something, ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is it? What is the goal? How will I succeed? And what happens if I choose not to do it? And the police car is here because if I choose not to do it, is the police going to come and drag me off to jail? Probably not, right? A lot of people focus on doing things right. Instead, do the right things. So the banner is here as an example. What if you polished the underside of the banner so that it was so shiny you could see your face in it? That would be doing things right. But is it doing the right thing? Should we polish the top side of the banner and maybe just dust the underside of the banner? And here's the next thing. A very small number of things contribute to the vast majority of the value that you have in your life. It's the 80-20 rule. We wear 80% of the time, 20% of the clothes in our closet. How many of you raise your hand if that's true? Tell the truth. I see many. Exactly right. We could probably get rid of at least half of our clothes. It's true for almost everything we do. There's a lot of clutter. So planning is critical, and it must be done at multiple levels. You have to do it daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. So what am I going to tell you next? What am I going to tell you next, Minnie? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Get a plan and take action.
Well, what else? How are you going to do it? How are you going to know?
Oh, that needs to be, in other words, a process, because it's almost like the theory of how do you eat an elephant? Take one bite at a time.
Exactly. And you need a planner.
Oh, I have a daily planner every day. Although the electronic device is good, I have to have my daily planner every day.
You need a planner. We're going to talk about that too. But you need a plan. I want everybody to unmute for just a minute. It is the most important slide in the whole slide deck. So tell me here, if you have a working to-do list, what do we do first? And this is what we have: important and urgent, important and not urgent, not important and urgent, and not important and not urgent. So what comes first?
Urgent.
Urgent, important.
Urgent and what? Not important or important?
Important.
Okay, so this is number one. It's really hard to write with this. Okay, so now let me see if I can change the color of my pen. I can't, it won't let me. Somebody asked me to change the color of my pen when I did this before. It won't let me. Okay, so now what do we do last?
Not urgent.
Not important, not urgent.
Not important.
Not
Okay.
important, not urgent.
That's right. This is number 4. Now, what do we do second?
Urgent.
Not important.
Important, not urgent, important.
Not urgent.
Important, not urgent.
Not important, urgent.
Not important,
I would
urgent.
say urgent.
That's what I'm hearing. Somebody else? Anybody else? Anybody got another idea?
What we
Important, not
should be
urgent.
doing is important and not urgent.
This is
Urgent.
correct. 2.
Okay.
Yeah, important.
And then we don't do these at all. This is what happens. If you learn to do this second, these go away.
Okay.
These go away. You're not always putting out fires. And then these completely drop off your list. You go, these are not important, and you learn things that are not important, you just don't do. You just don't do them. What, Deborah, did you say something?
Are your X and your 4 and should they be in the different positions?
No,
Should the X
that's
be
the positions they should be in.
okay?
The 3 and 4 should be crossed out. The last two, the bottom.
They just go away.
Oh, okay, I see.
They're not important. They go away in your life.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a long time to learn to do not important things in your life.
Have mercy, Lord.
It does. You have to get a mindset. This isn't important. I'm not doing it.
Even when people ask you.
Well, you have to learn to say no too. We'll talk about that in a minute. So how to save time. These are the things, these are the actual things that we're going to talk about. How to save time. Keep a clear desk. Don't keep your desk messy. Things that you should have on your desk. A stack of thank you cards so that you can do stuff while you're waiting on the phone. Write thank you notes to people. Write thank you notes and put them in the mail. They're important.
Yes.
They really are. Have a recycle bin so that you can put papers in case you need to recover something that you threw away that you shouldn't have thrown away. Have a notepad and some Post-it notes. You may have some alternate things, but don't have a messy desk. And the next slide tells us, touch each paper and email once. Open it, file it, put it on your to-do list. How many of you have used your email as a to-do list? Come on now, tell the truth. I'm not, this isn't graded. But a lot of people have have a whole lot of unopened email. Oh, I'll get to that later, thousands of them. Your email should not be a to-do list. You don't have to put it in the trash, but open it, file it, pieces of paper, touch them once. Stand when you talk on the phone. I think I missed something over here. Touch each paper once. The other thing that you need is a filing system. Who has a filing system at home? Laverne, you have a filing system at home? Yeah?
I do.
Me too.
And
I couldn't live without
work.
mine.
I
Keep your
have a
receipts. So
label.
how many of you, Ian, have you wasted time running around looking for a sheet of paper? Oh, I know. I saw it when I opened the mail and I put it somewhere. It's on the desk or it's on the dining room table or it's... Is that you?
I sure
No?
have. Oh,
Too many times.
Yep. Touch it once, put it in your file or put it in the recycle bin. I don't need this. Put it in the recycle bin. And the other thing is have a calendar. Even if you can remember things in your head, get it out of your head and put it on your calendar. Either an electronic calendar or a paper calendar. I have both just because I like to see it. Doesn't matter, whatever works for you, but have a calendar. Then here's a rule. Rules for using the telephone. Stand up when you're talking on the phone. Start by announcing your goals. Laverne, this is Donna, and I'm calling because I want to talk about 3 things that I would like to get done. And talk about the 3 things. So I'm going to say this to you too. I presented this at my club. And they said, well, this doesn't help much for networking and building teams and things like that. This isn't about networking and building teams. And that if that's what you're doing, you'll have to make up your mind about how you want to handle this. This is about saving time. If you want to talk on the phone to somebody because you're networking and building teams, you'll do it, you'll handle it a different way. But if you're trying to save time, this is the way you do it. Have something on your desk that you're interested in so you won't talk on the phone so long. And make the phone calls before lunch, before the end of the day, so that the people that you're talking to are ready to get you off the phone. It's about saving time. Okay. This, I don't know how this fits today when a lot of people are still working virtually, but make your office comfortable for you, but optimally comfortable for somebody else. Make people stand up when they come to your office. If you're going to have a longer meeting than that, pull out some folding chairs. Consider the opportunity cost of doing things. Every time you do something unimportant, you are not doing something important. Learn to say no. A useful formula, I'll do it if nobody else steps forward. And then that way you'll know the personality of the person that's asking you. So if I ask you to do something, Melissa, and you say to me, I'll do it, I'll be your fallback if nobody else steps forward, you will know if I ask somebody else or if I just say, okay, you'll be my person. And you'll know the next time just to say no. Here's the other thing. When you're working or when you're trying to be creative or doing, I'm not creative, but I do things and I have good and bad times. My time is in the morning. I am not good at night. So during your good time, don't have meetings. That's your creative time. Defend that time ruthlessly. Have your meetings at other times. Minimize the frequency and the length of your interruptions. Each interruption takes about 6 to 9 minutes. It takes 5 minutes to recover. And if you're doing something detailed, it takes longer than that to recover. Like if you're a programmer or if you're doing something very detailed, it's 12 minutes of your time on average to recover from. Turn your phone calls to an email. Say, I'm in the middle of this. During your creative time. Can't do it all the time. So the next thing is keep a time journal. How many of you know, raise your hand honestly, if you know how you spend your time during the day? What you spend your time doing? How much time do you spend watching TV? How much time do you spend doing things? How much time do you spend actually doing things that could be delegated to somebody else? How much time do you spend doing things that are important and not important? So keep a time journal so you'll know how much time you spend doing these things so that you can identify these tasks. And then if you have a gap between two appointments, those of you who make appointments, make an appointment for yourself and spend the time doing something that you need to be doing so that you're not just standing around walking, sort of wasting time. Because really, how many of us do that between appointments? Don't we? I've got another appointment in an hour, so I don't want to start working on something, but do it anyway. Be efficient, not effective. What matters is the overall outcome. This isn't for you to become the Uber worker. It's so that you can go home at 5 o'clock and have more time to spend with your family. Focus your time and energy on the things that matter. I don't want you to stay at work till 7 o'clock at night when you're supposed to go home at 5. So if you have something that isn't due for a long time, make up a fake deadline. Act like it's real. There are some people that wait. How many of you wait till the deadline is due? And then work. So make up a fake deadline for yourself. Does that work? Have you ever tried it? Have you ever tried it, Laverne? No?
I can't fool my brain.
Identify the underlying psychological reason why you're procrastinating about it. Fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, or anxiety about asking someone for something. So the anxiety about asking someone for something, I have a personal story about that happened this year. There was a division director who doesn't have one area director. And then another area director is actually working and ended up working nights. So the area director had to sleep during the daytime. In addition, this division director had some health problems and some family health problems and some deaths and things like that. So she called me on the phone and said, I really need some help with area director visits. I think that I need to do them in 2 areas, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get them done. And because I retired in September, I said to her, I'm happy to help you do that. And we were able to get them all done in time. So the lesson here is, don't be anxious about asking someone to help you with something. If I hadn't been able to do it, I would have asked somebody else to see if they could do it. We would have gotten them done. So this is how to stop procrastinating. Find somebody to hold you accountable. Work with somebody else about it. Start a task and finish it. And I know it's hard. I have a brother who has a new house, who's working on things on the house. And he has 50 things going at the same time. I just shake my head because, and there are a lot of people that do that. That's a personality, and I get it. So how many of you have a list that's this long for your task? Is that your personality, Laverne, or do you do a few at a time?
That's not my personality. I just keep my list very, very short. I don't overcommit. So I keep my list short.
Yeah, me too. I did a Myers-Briggs one time with a guy who his personality trait was his list was this long. I just shook my head. I don't know how you keep up with that. What about you, Minnie? How's your list?
My list is daily. I don't put many items down that I can't complete in a day. If I know it's something that needs to defer until the weekend, it will not go beyond that weekend. I agree with Laverne and the rest of you. Don't overwhelm yourself. I'm learning more and more now to say, no, I can't do it. Even though I have the heart desire, I will say no, and I keep things manageable to whereas they won't stress me out. And yes, I do. I get up and walk. I go outside. I may go to the mailbox. I put the garbage to the back. I'll do something just to give myself a quick break.
Okay. What about you, Deborah?
I keep a very long list, very categorized in various categories of my life. However, I don't assign everything a date unless it's urgent. So there are things on my list that aren't urgent, but I don't want to forget to do them. And when I'm sitting down doing my planning, I might take something that doesn't have a date and assign a date to it. So I love electronic planners, and I like that you can just do so much grouping and categorizing. And I don't like to have to write my stuff over because I don't get everything done. You know, I mean, I think I'm pretty good. I will assign myself priorities, but everything on the list does not get done in a day. So long list, but everything doesn't have a date.
Yeah, well, I guess that's okay as long as you move them around and eventually get them done. So, Katie, what about you? You have a long list or a short list?
Yeah, I have a daily list, just like a lot of you. And I actually put items that go into probably the next week as well, just because I like to plan ahead. And even if I don't finish it within the day, I have the daily items and then I have weekly items.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I
your
think
weekly, so you
Yep,
then you just
sorry.
move them up.
Yeah, so then later it's like it's moving up like you said, but I track everything on my phone and I also have an agenda. I don't know if you guys also use both. I like writing things down, even though
Oh, yeah.
I feel like we all use technology, but I still write it. Yes, I also have a planner and I like to cross things out. It just gives me that I don't know if it's like a mental thing, but it just tells me, yes, I've done that item, I've completed it, let's cross it out, and I feel accomplished.
Right.
So
Right.
it's actually a motivational factor for myself. So I think a
And
lot of you
also
can
some
identify
color
with me.
coding, Donna.
Yes, and
Color
I like to
coding.
highlight a lot.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like to highlight things. So it gives me like different categories. And then when I complete them, I cross them off my list, or on my phone, if I track it, then I just delete it. And then later it's on to the next item. So it's
There
go,
you
go,
go.
go from there.
Okay. So what about you, Alan?
Yes. Good morning, everybody. I'm pretty casual with my to-do list. I usually save all of my to-do stuff for the weekend just because my job keeps me pretty busy. Seems like by the time I get off work, go to the gym, or Toastmasters, and then have dinner, it's almost time for bed. So I usually save all of my to-do stuff for the weekends. And usually Saturdays, I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything with anyone unless I get invited to do something. So every Saturday morning, I take some envelope from my mail and just write a list of whatever I have to do, whether it's chores or errands or paying bills or doing any Toastmaster related tasks. And usually I'll make a list of 20 something items to do, and then I'll just cross them off as I go and try to get as many of them done as possible by the time I go to bed on Saturday. That way, Sundays, when I drive up to Charlotte for church and then go out for lunch afterwards and do any shopping, it can kind of just be my day to do whatever I want and just relax.
Good. Do you scratch them off when you get done? Does that give you a sense of accomplishment?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah. Does a lot of people. And then this says make a to-do list every night before you go to bed. Start with the toughest task first. Okay, so we're going to talk about this. This is a hard one. Not everybody knows how to do this. Start with the toughest task first. If you have to eat 3 frogs, you eat the biggest one first. Then it makes the other 2 not so hard. Minnie, don't shake your head. Eat the toughest one first. Start with the toughest one first. But like you said, take a break in between. And if you can, remove all your distractions. So take your phone and put it away And then give yourself a reward like Alan was talking about. So the next day you go to church, you go to lunch, you go shopping, you do all the things that you want to do. And remember why you're doing this. Does this help you meet the goal that you set in the first place? Because if it doesn't, then don't do it. You're wasting time. All right, let's go on vacation now. We work still. Those of us who still work. When you go on vacation from your work spot should get two options. I'm not at the office, but contact Sally Sue or Billy Bob or somebody else, or call back when I'm back. And this is why. Because Minnie, when you get back from vacation, you don't want to pick up 6 calls and find out that your coworker has handled all 6 of that stuff, but you're still working on it. That's just wasting your time. So, you guys, if you haven't listened to this video, Randy tells the story that he got married when he was almost 40. And he saved up all his vacation because he didn't have any. He loved teaching and he didn't use it. So he tells his boss, I'm getting married and I'm going to take a month's vacation, and my wife and I are going out of the country and I'm not going to be able to be contacted. And the boss said, no, the dean of the department said, no, you can't do that. You've got to give me a phone number. And he said, I will tell you what. He said, I will give you the phone number of my bride's parents. She is their only daughter. And you can call them on the phone. And if they think your problem is so important to interrupt their daughter's honeymoon, they'll get in touch with her and she can relay the message to me. And he said, y'all know what? I didn't get one phone call the whole month. I thought that was kind of cool. But when you're on vacation, you're on vacation. Don't take emails and don't take phone calls. It's not a vacation if you're reading emails and calling your work back. So here's some general advice. Cue your television. Don't watch it all the time. Most Americans watch 28 hours of television a week. That's a lot. Turn your money into time. Pay somebody to mow your lawn. Exchange your money for time. Clean your house, whatever it is that you're spending time on. Make sure that you eat, sleep, and exercise enough. Never break a promise, but renegotiate if need be. If you tell me, yeah, I'm going to get my area director reports in, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do your boss something else, and something comes up or it takes more time than you think it will, come back to the boss and say, I don't think I'll be able to do this by such and such a day. Is it okay if I do it 2 days later or 3 days later? They may tell you, yeah, I gave you a deadline that was sooner than I really needed it. Or they may say, no, I have to have it by here. You may have to work late. If you promised that you would have it then don't break the promise. Recognize that most things are pass fail. Don't let great be the enemy of good. And get feedback. Ask people in confidence about things that you're doing. Get some feedback from people you trust. So this YouTube video was made February the 5th, 2008. Randy Pausch passed away July the 25th, 2008. And this is one of my favorite quotes. Time is all we have. And one day you may find that you have less than you think. And then the other thing that I'm going to add that it quote is, the brick walls are not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something. Because the brick walls are there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough. They're there to stop the other people. If you guys would like, I will answer some questions. If you want to unmute and ask them, because we have some few minutes, I think. About 15.
Hi, Donna.
Hey.
Hi, Donna. It's really nice presentation. Thank you very much. Is it possible you could put the second to last slides up? The general advice.
I can.
Yeah, thank you.
This one.
Yeah, thank you. And also, what's the full name of Randy?
Pausch, P-A-U-S-C-H.
Hey, Donna. Good morning, everyone. It's Musunga here. I just wanted to reiterate, thank you for the point about making the fake appointments, because that's something that I've started doing. I heard that advice about a year ago, and I started doing that on my work calendar. In between meetings, like I do write a to-do list on paper. I'm one of those that still uses paper and crosses things out, but I often found that even with that, I would still leave a lot of items at the end of the day undone. But when I create those appointments, it does give me a reminder to say, hey, work on this. And I've even found that oftentimes people might still reach out to me, but they'll say, I see that you're in a meeting, even though I'm not in a meeting, but it's also another reminder that I've dedicated this time to work on this. So I'll attest that if you're not creating those fake appointments or fake meetings, it's come in very handy for me.
You get interrupted too, right? But if you have a fake meeting, then they'll leave you alone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But Donna, I find on my work calendar, sometimes my boss will say, if that's a meeting that you must attend, because I need to utilize that time for you. And then I'll let him know that I can alter that. But if it's anybody else looking at my calendar, just a fellow coworker or something that I've shared with, I'll leave it there. But when the boss questions it, sometime I have to adjust it.
Right. And then the other thing really and truly to do is keep that time calendar for just a week to see if you're wasting time, to see if especially if you still work, if there are things that you can do that you can delegate, and if there are things that you are doing that are not important, that you can just quit doing, so that you can save some time. And again, when I presented this to my club, the feedback was, especially with the office, if you have an office where you make people stand up and you don't have comfortable chairs, that you're not building teams and you're not networking, and it's not good for that sort of things. So if that's what you're trying to do, then you'll have to make the decision about how you spend your time.
Good afternoon, morning, Donna. This is Janice Horton Rainsbury. Could you go into the time calendar a little bit? I saw the graphic and I saw the little yellow look like Post-it notes or whatever, but could you explain it a little bit more, please?
Well, it's individualized. So you'll put it, the way I do it, the way when I first did it, is I just wrote down a day and like every hour, and I wrote down what I was doing, what I did, and I did it for a month. And then I went back and looked at it to see if there were things that I was doing that weren't important. I didn't have a job much where I could delegate to anybody else. I was the individual contributor. I wasn't a boss. But if I was doing things that weren't important, then I thought to myself, okay, these things aren't important, so I'm going to quit doing them. And then I did the same thing actually the next month at home. What am I doing at home where I'm wasting time? How much TV am I watching? How much other things that am I doing where I'm wasting time? That doesn't mean that you can't relax and that you can't do things for yourself. But if you say to yourself, I don't have time to exercise and I don't have time to take care of myself, then you need to figure out why. Because we make the time to do the things that are important to us, right? And you need to figure out why you're doing those things. A lot of people watch a lot of TV. Okay, y'all, any other comments? You got a minute.
What I was going to say, Donna, right quick, this is Minnie. I'm a 100% advocate of self-care. To me, if you're not doing self-care, that I have a concern with myself, that's you. But let me know you're not managing your time, because self-care formulates my day. If I'm not doing self-care, I'm not a happy camper. And the last thing is, I'm so glad to be working at home for 2 years. My productivity has gone up 25% per day. And I cringe the thought of going back into the office because I have so many friendly interrupters. Even though I love seeing them, I love being at home in my own office that I made for myself that's conducive to productivity.
Right.